Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stately Office Hours. This is where us, the team at Stately, talk to you about what's been going on with Stately Studio and with XState. It's been a while, but we're back, and we have loads to share with you today. Let's start off, as we often do, with introducing the team. So, I'm Laura, and as you can see from my label, I do education and advocacy for Stately. How about you, Kevin?
I am Kevin, and I'm doing engineering. Oh, there we go. At
This is the
Stately, which is a lot
challenge.
of fun.
Whether we could all point at them. David, who are you?
I I got the wrong way. There we go. Founder, Stately, creator of that state.
And Nick, the mysterious man without a label.
Yes, I do not have a label, but I do design.
And last but not least, Anders with the Danish flag.
Yeah, I'm Anders, and I also do engineering, and I do it from Denmark, hence the that flag.
Great start. So we have so much to share with you. We have been teasing for the last month or so versions. Some of you might have seen a little icon appearing in the studio today. Now, this is hush hush for those of you in office hours, isn't it, Kevin?
That's right, Laura. So as you said, there is a new icon or a little button, and that is for the version history and version history panel. And so, we are still, refining things, but we'd love to, get that out there and get some feedback, and you can start to use that now. And we're excited about that feature.
Yeah, it is a huge feature and it is so useful. And Kevin has been working really hard on it. Kevin's been working on so many different things recently, and another addition that you've made is just a little bit of tweaking in the project visibility. So where can we now find those settings?
Oh, that's right. So currently, or previously, when you wanted to change the project visibility, you would go into the share menu. But now we can actually set project visibility when you create a new project. And so at the same time, you give it a name or description. You can also set the visibility. And then also, if you go into the project settings page, you can also modify the visibility there. So it's a little bit more convenient to work with that and to change it.
Fabulous. So it's easy when you're creating a project now that you can just set it whether you want it to be public or you want it to be unlisted or you want it to be private just to you. You can do all of those things. So, speaking of people who've been working very hard and making loads of features, Anders, do you want to show us what you've been working on?
I will. Let me present my screen here. So I've been working a bit on our simulation mode, and one of the small things we've added is when you change tabs, so when you go from edit to simulation mode, now the URL actually changes along with it. So when you share this URL with someone else, they'll actually open directly inside the simulate mode if you share a link from that page. And we are also working on updates for simulation mode. One of them being that we're kind of dogfooding XState a lot more in simulation mode now. And that enables us to have like after transitions, which you had to click manually before, but now they're actually running. So if we try to click through this thing and say, hello Kitty, step on keyboard, now this thing should transition on its own after
Yes.
4 seconds and after 2 seconds, and nothing works because we're a programmer, that's how it is. We take a nap, we're feeling refreshed. After 2.5 seconds, we're back. So that's one thing I've been working on, and that's already released. Another thing which is coming up is something we call live mode. So if I go ahead and press this button down here, you'll see that the simulation mode now changed its colors to orange. And if I go ahead and open another window, this doesn't have to be on the same machine. I could have sent this link to anyone. Now, when I start to transition, you can see it automatically transitions in both windows, and it even works with the after transitions as well. So this is a way for you to kind of share across your team, across the world, wherever you are, kind of play through simulation mode together. So we're pretty excited about this live mode going out at some point. This is our first kind of feature we've been working on together with Sunil from PartyKit, which some of you may have heard of, which is another cool project. But yeah, so live sim mode should be out soon. And it's for I should say it's for pro subscribers at this point.
It's so cool. Just even for us as a team, like being able to use this, being able to, when you're having a meeting, to be able to show someone what you're working on live, that's going to be so useful.
Yeah, hopefully. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
I mean, just clicking buttons and seeing it happen.
Yeah, and that after in having the delayed transitions showing in simulate mode is something that I have wanted for a really long time, for quite a weird reason, because I want to do some like cool little animations when, like, maybe when office hours is starting, I'd like to have an animation that shows after 20 seconds the office hours starts, and I'd be able to screen record off of that. It's gonna look great.
Yeah.
So David, you've been doing a lot of work on V5 recently, XState V5 that is. Would you tell us a little bit more about what's been added into V5 recently?
Sure, yeah. So we've been really, really busy with XState version 5, me and Mateusz, who's not in here, but hopefully he's watching. Hey, Mateusz. So we've merged, you could see in purple, we've merged a bunch of PRs, and there's still a bunch to go. And these are the PRs labeled XState V5 Alpha, because once all these are merged in, then we've essentially reached our milestone with XState Beta, which should hopefully be coming soon. So just to really quickly talk about a few things that we've recently merged in. The auto forward option is now gone. So there is no longer any auto forward true. Instead, you have to be explicit about the events you send. This just makes things a lot more explicit and a lot cleaner, because you don't have any of this magic of your parent machine spamming events to machines where, auto forward is true. We've also removed observable replay. This is one of the breaking changes. I know that many of you were curious about which changes are actually going to be breaking. So this is I would consider it a small breaking change. Previously, when you subscribed to an actor, so when you interpret a machine and you start it, when you subscribe to it, you immediately get the current snapshot of it. In version 5, that's no longer going to be the case, because that's sort of a lie. That snapshot could have occurred like a few seconds ago, a minute ago, an hour ago, but by getting it immediately, it feels like it just happened, which is definitely a lie. So instead, you're encouraged to read actor.getSnapshot directly if you want to get the current snapshot, and then actor.subscribe will give you any subsequent snapshot updates. So there's that. Oh yeah. The receptionist pattern is coming soon, and it definitely, I previewed this in one of the previous office hours, and so this is going to be close to its final form pending final review. Very simple. You give it a key, in this case receiver, or give an actor that you invoke or spawn a key, and then you could retrieve that from the system from any other actor. And then you could just send it events, do whatever you want, pass it around in other events. So it makes it really useful. Another small change that I actually think is extremely useful is that in actions, you are going to be able to get a reference to the self. And so this is going to allow you to do things like, have a sender responder pattern. You could have, this is off the record, but you could have async actions. It's just that those aren't going to be as safe as doing something like invoke or spawn. But since you have a reference to self, you could just say, hey, when I'm done with this promise, I'm going to send myself back an event. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, so you're not going to be able to call actor.stop anymore. Instead, because that's you're in the actor model, you're actually not supposed to be able to directly stop an actor. Only the parents can stop an actor, in which there already is an action for that. And you're going to be able to call system.stop. So that stops the entire system. So that's going to be the new approach moving forward. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, so input is in. And we gave a preview of inputs previously. this eliminates the need of creating factory machines because you could just pass it in directly to the input. So go ahead and watch the previous office hours if you want to see a preview of that. Oops. And yeah, so I think that, oh yeah, also recursive persistence is in. I also gave a demo of that. So again, watch the previous office hours, or I think it was 2 office hours ago.
I think it was the last one. Yeah.
Oh, the last one? Okay. Yeah. So the last one where this was introduced, we're going to get a new alpha release out soon. So you could start playing with this. And in the meantime, I am going to be, working with Laura and others on the version 5 beta docs. So you're going to have more information on all of these changes, including a migration guide. So it's a lot of things to look forward to, and hopefully it makes your machine writing code a lot simpler.
I was just thinking as you were saying that, yeah, we should do a migration guide. We should have that so that you can just easily work out what the breaking changes are and what you might need to change in order to get everything working with V5. Top of the list. Fabulous. Other things that you've been working on, David, you've been doing some examples.
Yeah. So I have also been working on a bunch of examples. And so actually, I'm trying to find the link to it, but it's called State Designer. This is actually an old, I wonder if this will work. Probably won't. So State Designer is actually an old sort of state machine app by, library by Steve Ruiz, where he actually provided a lot of really, really cool examples. And I talked to him about like, hey, let's recreate these examples in XState. And so I'm working through a bunch of these examples. You could see that there's a few over here. We have stopwatch, a counter, tiles, which is sort of a game, another timer over here, a simple toggle. And we're going to be adding more examples such as Tetris, a drawing application, and things like that. But just to give you an idea of what I've been working on, this is a simple stopwatch that's going to be an example coming soon to the XState repo. You could start it, stop it. I obviously need to do some design over here. Reset. And so you could see we have a few states here, and all of these are going to be linked to an actual visualization of the machine so that you could actually see how everything works. And I think this is pretty simple. We start in the stop state. Sounds ironic, but stop, then you go to start, you're running, and then every tick, it's going to increment the counter, and then you could reset it at any time. This is a powerful pattern. Just a little side note that I'm going to, we're going to add documentation for, but the fact that you could you could have a transition from a parent to a child means that, it doesn't matter which state you're in, this transition will direct you to that state. So instead of having a reset transition on both stopped and running, now you could just have it from the parents, or not now. I mean, you could have always done this with XState, but it's just a really cool pattern to highlight. So yeah, these are some of the examples I'm working on.
I've recently refactored a bunch of my machines to use that pattern. It's so helpful. I had some very repetitive machines, so it's great to pull that out of there. We're still trying to come up with a good name for that pattern. I don't know if naming these patterns is a useful thing. It'd be interesting to hear from you all if you think so, just because sometimes it's useful to have a way of referring back to like exactly the sort of the sequence of things you need to do. And so having a pattern name might be helpful for that. But if you think that's nonsense and it isn't helpful at all, let us know that as well. It's always good to know. It's important for all of we're trying to make the learning curve less steep in terms of XState and state machines. And so all of these little things really add up to trying to make a great experience, particularly when folks are getting started. Now, David, on the 5th of April, it's a Wednesday, you're going to be at the Tampa Devs State Machine meetup. How are you involved in that?
Yeah. So Tampa is actually very close to Orlando, and so I have some friends in Tampa. A lot of developers there. Both Orlando and Tampa have a really vibrant developer community. So I'm going to be talking about state machines and state charts and what we're working on at Stately at Tampa Devs on that date.
Oh, great. Well, what I will do later on is I will find a URL for anyone who's local to there, so you can find out some more information or sign up. I'll include that in the links below this video when we put it live. And anything else that the team want to share this week? Is there anything that anyone watching live wants to ask us? Just let us know in the comments. Team, and we really covered a lot in a rapid amount of time today.
We do have one other thing to mention, which is that for team members, we are also granting them the pro features.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's
actually,
a great catch.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Yeah, we made the decision that when you purchase a seat for pro members, so if you have a team, then every seat that you purchase, they get full access to pro features, which currently is a lot. You could have your own private machines, unlisted machines, etc. If you do, as a member of a team, want to create your own team, then you have to purchase additional seats for your own team for that. But otherwise, you have the same pro features as anyone else. And coming next month, that's going to be even more valuable because we're going to be adding a lot of more pro features to the editor and studio.
Yeah, we've had a preview of it today. There are so many cool features coming in soon. You're going to want those pro accounts. Even if you're not working on a team, I think that it's going to come in really handy for you. We have a question from Angelo here. With version 5, are there any new testing capabilities?
So we are working on an update to XState Graph and XState Test v1, but that's sort of orthogonal to XState version 5. However, I was discussing with Mateusz that XState version 5 is going to have better inspection utilities because right now, for instance, you don't know when like an immediate transition or like an always transition happens. It just happens and you have no visibility into that. And so in the future, we're going to provide just lower level hooks that let you observe these, these micro steps, as they're called, and let you inspect different aspects of the state chart as it's running, which you might not get visibility into otherwise when you're just normally interpreting the state chart. So yeah, and we're also working on an updated DevTools protocol to make the visualization of communication between actors much better and to make it work with the editor in the future.
Loads of things, so much. Yeah, oh, that's great. Lots to look forward to in the future. Jumping back to the transition that you were showing earlier from the parent state, Johannes has suggested root transition. This was what I thought as well, actually. I thought root transition as well. We've just got to be careful that we're not potentially overlapping with like existing standards that use that term, or if there is, I think you did find that there is a name for it, isn't it, David, in some paper somewhere. There's a standard name for it.
So the name internal transition has been used in a few places to describe those kinds of transitions, and it definitely makes sense. Or what? Sorry, not internal, inner transition. And so
which is confusing with internal transition.
Yeah, which is why in version 5, I actually forgot to mention this, but we are getting rid of the terminology, or we're most likely getting rid of the terminology internal and external transitions, because that's really confusing. In fact, I get confused myself too. So instead, transitions will have a re-enter property, which makes a lot more sense. Like, do you want this transition to re-enter the state or not? And obviously re-entering executes the entry actions again. So yeah, but inner transitions, I think that name makes a lot of sense.
Angelo says that it sounds like new debugging tools may be coming in the future. Very hopeful about that.
Yeah, sorry, muted. Yeah. So we are going to have more debugging tools. I think someone mentioned just a simple log utility, and I think that could be quickly built once we have that new DevTools protocol. And also in the future, probably later this year, we've been talking about browser DevTools and things like that.
Yeah, that's going to be very cool. Here, Dale asks, is it a good idea to test a machine using XState test?
It depends. I would say yes, because Testing a machine using XState tests lets you verify, is it possible to reach a certain state, or if I execute this sequence of events, am I going to reach the correct state? And that's where model-based testing is really, really useful. However, if right now you have a machine where you're invoking, spawning actors and things like that, then XState test might not work the way you want it to, at least not right now. Before, I used to say that XState test was really only useful to use machines to test other things, but now we're seeing a lot of use cases where people want to test the actual machines using the auto-generated capabilities of model-based testing and XState test. So that is something that we have to consider, for future versions of XState test.
Good to know. Johanna says, debugging and live inspection stuff, yes, please.
Yep, we'll definitely have more of that.
Great. Anything else that anybody wanted to share this week? I thought I would mention that our next office hours will be April 14th. So there's a little way away. It's because we've got Easter in between there somewhere abouts there. And we will also be doing another webinar. So in case you missed it, I'll make sure that I put the link below this video. We had a webinar, I say we, it was David a couple of weeks ago, which was a brilliant introduction to XState. And so if you are just starting out and you want to get the lay of the land and how everything works, I would really highly recommend it. It is an excellent webinar. It's just about an hour long, so it's not too long. And there's so much information in there, and it will really put you in good stead if you want to start out making state machines and introducing state management using XState. It's a good one. So I would totally recommend you go for that. If you didn't make it and you want to wait for the next one that's in a European-friendly time, Anders and I will be doing a webinar on the 21st of April. I'm not sure. We'll try and compete with how good David's was, but it was very good.
Oh, I'm sure you both will be great.
Johannes says looks forward to more webinars. And we appreciate you being there, Johannes. You're great to have there.
Yeah. And in the future, we'll have more advanced webinars too. I know that some of you have been asking for that since the last webinar. So
yeah. Do let us know what webinars you want, if there is anything specific. We know that right now we're trying to address the learning curve. So doing lots of introductory level stuff is good, and it helps us work out what does and doesn't work in terms of the education. But yeah, if you have specific requests, I have a feeling a lot of people want some React-y webinars as well. I think there's a lot of requests for examples and things that are specific to React.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could do that for sure. And also getting deeper into actors. And also when XState v5 beta comes out, just showing people how it works and how it compares to v4. That would be a good webinar.
Oh yeah, that is a really good idea. Right, we'll get that one scheduled in as well. Martin says that he's all in for the re-enter. It will be good to explicitly display this on the editor as well.
Yeah, we've been talking, especially with Nick, about like the best way to display things so that it intuitively makes sense to like what's happening, with those transitions. So
yeah. It's quite a balancing act as well, trying to make things so that you understand what the underlying code is on that machine, but also making it so that it is friendly to people that you might be collaborating with that aren't necessarily programmers themselves.
Yeah, and we have a lot of work going on the past couple months on that, which stay tuned.
Oh yeah, just you wait until you see what Nick's been working on. It's gonna blow your mind. You are going to instantly notice it the second that that comes out into the editor, because it is gonna make a huge difference to your experience. Well, I think we'll wrap up for this week then. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. So we will see you again on the 14th of April, same time. And yeah, that's it. See you then. Goodbye.
See you all.